Dear friends, we would like to begin our series of topics related to counseling and prematrimonial counseling especially. My name is Stradan Petkov and I have dealing with prematrimonial and marriage counseling over 30 years, and I am very pleased to be invited and be part of this program. We would like to begin reading a Bible verse which is in Proverbs chapter 18 and there verse 22. Who's find a wife findeth a good things and obtained favor of the Lord. This Bible verse let us understand that marriage is in favor of the Lord. It is in favor and it is the will of God. And it is nothing sinful nor shameful to have the desire into the other sex. Boys looking for girls and girls looking for boys because they have a natural attractions given by the Lord according to this Bible verse, and they wish to become partners. They wish to create these wonderful things which is a marriage. Of course, it is a question how to find a partner, how to find especially a partner that will be a blessing for you, that will be a good companion and friend forever. Until the death separates us, as Apostle Paul mentioned in his letter to the Corinthians. So the title of this subject is How to Find Ideal Partner. The title is a little misleading because we will not find ideal partner. It is impossible to find ideal person in this world just because the Bible says that each one of us, every one of us have sinned. For example, if we see the letters to the Romans, chapter 5, and there verse 12, it says, Wherefore as by one man sin entered into the world, and death by sin, and so death passeth upon all men, for that all have sinned. The sin have damaged everyone. And to find an ideal person is an idealistic thinking which actually will not face a reality. And we will always find some fault in the other person, no matter how much we look for. That's why the first things we need to understand in order to find a good partner is to know ourselves, to know our own values, to know our own priorities, our own understanding of things, and most and everything, our targets and ambitions for life. Where do you want to go? What do you want to do? Let's say that you want to travel from Florida to California and cross the United States, and you want to find a partner that's accompany you. The first things you need to find is a person that also wants to go in the same direction where you are going. So that's why before you look for somebody else, it's good that you analyze and evaluate yourself. How do you evaluate yourself? How do you find your own goals and your own principles? It is sometimes very helpful to have a prematrimonial counseling. If you don't have, you may download tests in internet. They are free to download, and many questionnaires that will help you to find out who you really are and what do you really want from life and from your own future. How do you imagine your own future? For example, questions like this as what are you going to do if you know that you have only 3 months of life? That's the questions that will help you realize and try to find out which are the priorities for you. What are you going to do if you have only 3 days of life? Who are you going to call if you are in prison? Who are you going to call if you are sick and your life is have a limited time? This is also important to evaluate the friends and the people who surround you. If they really are the ones that you want, that they accompany you the rest of your life or not. So there is a parable that I want to share with you. It is about a porcupine, a little porcupine that have been walking in the forest and looking for friends. the porcupine come close to a bunny and say, "Hello, bunny, I want to play with you." But the bunny says, "Oh, porcupine, you have such a spine. You're dangerous," and the bunny run away. Oh, the porcupine was so sad. Then he found a fox, a little fox, and he says, "Fox, come and play with me," and the fox run away. And the porcupine was so sad because nobody wanted to play with him in the forest. One day he found another porcupine, and the other porcupine was looking so terrifying for him and say, "Oh no, you're so terrible, you have so many spines on you, and you're so frightened to me." Then the elderly porcupine brought him to the river so that he could see his face in the water, and he became frightened by the picture he saw because he has so many spikes on him. So this is an interesting illustration how actually we're looking for other partners, and many times we are so sorry that they do not want to come closer to us. But maybe analyzing ourselves, we can find out which is the reason that we do not permit, or why they don't want to come closer to us. Maybe there is something we need to change first. We need to be prepared for marriage. We need to purify and polish our way of dealing with other people. We should not be too rough. We should not be violent. We should be more tolerant. We should be more lovely. And that will help us, obviously, to connect with others. There's another very important principle in Bible, and we can find this in the letter to Corinthians. And we can find this in Corinthians chapter 6, verse 14. "Be not unequally yoked together with unbelievers, for the fellowship hath righteousness with For what fellowship hath righteousness with unrighteousness, and what communion hath light with darkness?" It's not only believer and unbeliever in this picture, but in general people need to come together if they have the same values, if they have a similar understanding of the world and what is the importance in life. I want to present you here another parable, and this is related to a story, a fiction story of a farmer boy that in ancient time was presented a competition. The king make a competition who is capable to fire a bow and win the competition, and the one that win the competition will marry his daughter, the princess. So that shepherd boy, or that farmer boy, he was so good in firing a bow, an arrow, so he win the competition and he married the princess. And he was so happy, and he was handsome and strong and nice looking boy. So he took the princess and brought her to his farm. And day by day they passing by, and they had a lovely relationship. However, the princess looked kind of sad. So the boy was thinking, how can I please my wife, the princess? So he was thinking, well, I have my farm, and maybe I need to do more potatoes. I need to farm more fruits. So he make efforts, and he brought to the princess a big pile of potatoes and say, look how many potatoes I farmed this year. And the princess was look at that, oh yeah, that's nice, but she continued to be sad. So then the farmer say, what shall I do to make my wife happy? Maybe I have to provide more tomatoes. And then he brought more tomatoes, and the princess continued to be sad. One day the boy says, look, my dear wife, what shall I do to make you happy? And she says, look, I understand you're bringing potatoes and tomatoes. That's so important. I mean, food is so important. But you know why I'm sad is because I'm used to in palace to listen to music every day of the most precise musicians of the whole kingdom, and they will perform poetry and theater in our palace, and I'm used to this kind of things, and that's what I'm missing. So what this parable is about is that if there is difference of values and different of needs, there will be obviously a big difference of opinion and priorities. Obviously, potatoes and tomatoes are very important for the household, and the boy was very practically thinking. However, for the lifestyle of the princess, this was not what she was needing. And that's why it's so important before you marry with whatever person, when you look for a person, that that person have the same values. And if you go to church, if you're a believer, if you're honest Christians, you look for, please, for a person that believes the same thing, that goes to the same church where you go, that you have the same direction, that you all end up in California and not that one takes the road to New York and another goes to LA. So this will definitely be a challenge in the future in your marriage. Also, it is very important to have the level of understanding, education, and interest, to read same books, to have the same ideas, to like the same conversations, to have a general evaluation of the world that makes you unite and not disunite. Another very important part of marriage is communication. You need to be able to communicate, and not only able, but you need to be pleased in communication. When you are together, you need to be happy to discuss things, to dialogue, to talk and to dream about things. That's a very important part. Today this is a kind of challenge because of young people used to use their cell phones and internet, and they prefer to chat, and they prefer to do it by phone, but not in real communication. Having the phone in between you and your girlfriend or boyfriend is not a good idea, because it does not allow you to know the real personality of the other person. If you dialogue personally, you can see the face, you can read the body language, and that is something that is a communication much more complete and much above the speaking language or the chat that is written. Through chatting and through the phone conversation, actually person is hiding himself from the other side. We need to understand also that because of the desire to present yourself in a better light, there is a lot of lies involved. According to psychology, there is about 37 lies that we communicate to each other when young people come together in the first 15 seconds. Let's say that one of the very common lies is if you have a little belly, you click it so you look more sportly and better. You can increase a little bit your salary if you're talking about that. You can present yourself in another way, as educational wise or status wise. There's a lot of lies that girls and boys are sharing with each other, is because they want to present, they want to show up in a better light. And if you don't have this personal communication and presence, you may be easily deceived. It's interesting the experience of American soldiers that have been in Vietnam, and when the war came to an end, some soldiers have taken or they have taken a Vietnamese girls, married them and brought them to the United States. Most of these people, they didn't speak or they didn't knew the Vietnamese language, and the Vietnamese girls, they didn't know the English language. So they were not able to communicate. What happened is that the marriage was running perfectly the first 2 years, because there is another element, very important, that a man and women, we intend to idealize the other person in which we fall in love. The American soldiers idealized the Vietnamese girls because they couldn't speak with them, they couldn't know who they are, so they imagine, or they become in love with the imaginary picture of the girl. Same way the girl imagine and create a bubble imagination in her mind who her husband is, but these pictures have nothing to do with the reality because they couldn't speak with each other. About 2 years later, when the girls learn English and then their husbands could know the reality of their wives and the wives of their husbands, they sadly divorce. And this could happen if you, by your imagination, picture you supposedly future wife or your girlfriend or boyfriend, and that is not the truth. That's why we need to communicate directly. Another very important point we need to understand if we're looking for a partner for all our life, the rest of our lives, is that there is another delusion that can betray us, and this is the distinguish between lust and love. Lust is actually the desire to satisfy our sexual desire. Every young man, every young girl have these sexual desires, and there are sexual signs that trigger a lot of positive reaction. And there's a part of the body of the girl and part of the body of the boy. They have this attractive elements. That's why many girls, they like to show up their breasts and they want to have their pants as closer to their body as possible, because these elements trigger this sexual emotion and attraction and the other sex, and they become immediately a center of attention of the boys passing by. They look for them and they make signs and they try to to communicate with them, and this makes them feel like important. Very wrong approach. Why? Because the lust is something that is easily satisfied by the first several occasions of real sexual relationship, then love is gone. And the passion and lust are very deceitful. They can look like love. You can be very attracted by a boy or a girl, but that's not really love. Love is something totally different. Love lasts forever. It's very pleasant attraction. And there are different ways to realize what is lust and what is love. The lust guides us or push you to a sexual to sexual nearness. The boy, he's looking to touch the girl, to embrace her, to kiss her, to grab her in the dark place, to to obsess her. And similar, the girl also, she's attracted by the external appearance of the boy, and she looks for the same thing. The opposite, the real love, is not related to sexual lust, but it's related more so to please the other, to give a gift, to spend time together, to talk, to have an intellectual interchange. and that's make you rich, and that's makes you happy. Not the sexual relationship. The goal is not to reach into the bed and lay together and grab each other, but the relationship, the goal is an intellectual pleasure of communicating, talking, and having nice conversation, uplifting conversation. Especially if you are a religious person, if you go to church, it's very important that you have religious conversations, that you exchange Bible verses, that you enjoy analyzing the sermons of the pastor, no matter which church you go, that you really enjoy Bible studies and going to church and enjoy these church activities which are spiritual and enriching you spiritually. If you're not, perhaps education, perhaps certain intellectual exercise, analyzing a book together, this will bring you forwards, and it really bring a nice friendship into your relationship. Another very important point is what we already consider in Proverbs chapter 18. It says that to find a wife, it's a good thing, and obtain a favor of the Lord. To find a good wife is actually a blessing given by God. And in order to find wife, you need to also to involve God in your search, to involve the Spirit of God in your search. And how you do that? By prayer. You need to take time, study the Word of God, and look for what is the wife, the virtuous wife. There is an entire chapter in the parables that describe the wife that is blessed by God. And also you can find also who is the boy that pleased God. And this is also to be found in many places in the Bible, where the favorable kings of Israel, for example, are presented, and why God was pleased. Or Daniel, the book of Daniel, how he was a pleasant to God man. And then you build up a picture of what is good for the Lord. Then you can pray and ask the Lord to provide for you a husband and wife that's really fit you and will accompany you through the journey of life. And I can tell you that the journey of life, it's very important. Imagine that if you find a job, you can be a few hours a day and at work. If you need to travel, you will be a few days out of home and you will be there. But the rest of your life you're going to spend at home. And at home is when you're going to have your wife, your husband. At home you're going to educate your children. That is your future. That is the most important decision you're going to take for your life, to find a partner to accompany you through the journey of life. May God bless you and give you the right choice at the right time. And I'm sure He will. If you pray, if you evaluate yourself, you find out your own identity, so you can easily choose a partner to accompany you. If you find also your direction, where are you going, what you want to do with your life, then you can find a partner to accompany you. And then you need to evaluate if you really are pushed and motivated by lust and passion, or you're really in love with a certain person. You also can do this and be helped by praying to the Lord. And I'm sure in this way you will be successful. Amen.